Hello, my name is Bill Archer. I'm a self-published author. Self-published means that I have no publishing company behind my work for public relations and promotions and whatnot. So I'm making this short video clip to let you know about the four novels that I've written and hope that perhaps along the way you'll find an interest in one or more of them and be kind enough to purchase them, read them, and spread the word. The first book I wrote is a tribute to Richard Brautigan called Thanking Richard Brautigan. And it's just a small humor book written in the vein of Richard Brautigan's novels. And if you haven't read any of Richard Brautigan's novels, then one of the purposes, besides the tribute to him of my book, is to encourage other people to read as much of his work as possible. He wrote 10 fascinating novels before his much too early death, before the age of 50. And he's just a storyteller, the consummate storyteller. You might not learn much from reading his books, but I'm sure you'll have a good time once you're done. The second book I wrote is called Tommy, Born a Mama's Boy. And Tommy is not a book about a boy who's dependent on his mother for everything. It's more a book about a young man who loses his mother much too early in both her life and his. And the tragic circumstances carry him on through his early adult life, where he goes into the military, comes back out, and his quest is to find a final resting place for her urn with her ashes. And it takes him on an adventure where he encounters a group of criminals and then ends up going into the Pacific Northwest, eventually to Wells Gray Provincial Park in British Columbia, where he takes up sea kayaking and hiking and finds the final resting place for her urn through these efforts. It's almost a two-part book where part one is a little bit dramatic, part two is a little bit adventurous and humorous. My third novel is called Native Homeland, and it's a Western book, but it's not a cowboy and Indian thing. It's about the Native Americans and their struggles to find something besides the reservation system that our government and military imposed on them after the quote unquote Indian Wars. And what I always wondered, and I started writing this book when I was about 8 years old in my mind, but what I was curious about is what would have happened if a slight change had taken place in those Indian Wars and the Indians had been in a position where they could uh, seek a compromise with the government and perhaps get their homeland. And the story follows a young man from Ireland to England, across the Atlantic to America, where he pursues his grandfather who left Ireland with no notice. And the young man follows hints and traces that his grandfather had gone to the far west to help the Indians seek their quest for a homeland. And along the way, the young man encounters some historical figures. And the hero of the book, which is something that along the way I always decided I wanted to do too, is Dooley, the horse of the main character. The last book that I wrote, and I just finished it last year, is called Terminal Mortality. And it's a book about, it's a teenage romance for some reason. And it started out to be a book about two people dying at the same time in half a world apart, but one of them came back to life with no memory of his previous life uh, up until the time of the accident. But he does have memories of things that because of his earlier years, he never should be remembering. And along his path, he finishes high school, encounters some strange events uh, during that quest, and ends up partnering with an extremely lovely girl from high school. They end up going into North Carolina to take rock climbing and mountain climbing lessons. And then, as he learns about the 14ers in Colorado, he decides that he wants to go there. And so he and his new partner end up moving to Colorado, where they pursue that dream, and the book follows that thread. It started out as one thing and it ended up as something else, and I ended up being quite happy with how it turned out. Um, all of the books are available through lulu.com, and here's the URL for acquisitions or just learning a little bit more about the books. It's www.lulu.com/spotlight/Bill Archer, and that will provide all the information you need about ordering the books or some other books, photo books of Oregon that I've done over the years. All the books are available in paperback and as ebooks. So if you have an interest, I would much appreciate it. And I thank you for watching this clip. Happy reading.